Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Lego Indiana Jones, the original series. Let's continue. We're doing the second movie this time, so that's Shanghai Shenanigans, which is over here in free play mode. And who do I want? Like, I kind of need the Bazooka Trooper, and I kind of don't want the Bazooka Trooper. It's weird. I also need to turn on some extras, don't I? Let's see. I exited out, and when you exit out, that means we'll turn on disguises for fun, secret characters for fun, and fast fix for assistance. So the trick, I suppose, would be to go on a rampage immediately while I only have like 80 studs, and that way I don't really lose anything if I blow myself up. Yeah, I think that solves a lot of issues right there. And see, I think I've got everything silver blown up, so now I can move on to another character. If we can find a gun character, that would be helpful. But nope, instead the game just decides to lock up. The level of fear and paranoia that's coming up because of these lockups is increasing with every episode. It really is. Because now I'm starting to think maybe the only Lego games I ever covered that didn't lock up were actually games that were actually ones I played on my laptop instead of my PC. And then it even goes further than that. I'm starting to think, well, maybe the only games I've played that haven't locked up were a long time ago too on my new PC. Because like The Witcher 3 I know was my new PC, and it didn't lock up except for in one very specific spot with the graphics set very high, and then I could turn down the graphics and it fixed it. So that's hardly the consistent unsolvable issue we're having here. Now playing this in free play, you don't have to worry about Indiana Jones giving you trouble because he's poisoned. Let's see. I believe there is something in here. Yes, there is another diamond. There of course weren't 4 diamonds in the movie. There was only 1. It was probably a very difficult scene to record and film, because you had to get, I assume, a lot of tight shots of the poison vial, the poison antidote vial getting kicked around, and the diamonds getting kicked around. I don't think I could move the story forward without this. I guess we should try, because there's really nothing stopping me from coming this way and getting this and then just throwing it at that. And then do I even need to... No, you didn't even need to move forward with the other part. Of course, I may have missed a collectible doing that. I doubt it, but it's possible. So this area is nice and quiet. So I just need to bazooka this guy and not hurt myself in the process. Need to be very careful. See, this big red background kind of screams to me that it's possible the red parcel's there. But No, it doesn't. It doesn't make the most amount of sense still. I mean, Skyrim Special Edition, I most definitely have played that recently. And, and there was no major instances of lagging happening in that. Let's see, how do I get up there? Seems like I'm gonna have to work my way through it. I played Resident Evil 6 and there was a ton of lagging in that, but I suspect that's just another bad port, honestly. But I'm not even sure there was that much lagging. So we never saw this happen again in LEGO games. That's another great example of, you know, you're supposed to grab the rope, you just don't have a clue what's going to happen when you do it. Come over here and then switch to a female character and pull this, and then I have to switch back. It's making me control everything. So, you know, we'll have full adventurer here. We are also trying to get that 1 million studs to get treasure times 2, which got changed to score times 2 in future games. It's a weird system to say the studs you're collecting are your score, because most video games don't give you a direct object that equals a score. I can't just walk back into Club Obi-Wan there. That may have been a gag that was actually in the movie. At some, if you could freeze the scene for a second, you might find in Temple of Doom it does say Club Obi-Wan. Yeah, I'm seriously trying to rack my brain on all the games I've ever covered for the past year or two, which should be a lot easier considering I just recently did the year in review. Like things like Her Story, no real answer comes from that, because obviously Her Story wouldn't have lagged up. A lot of the games I played last year, I guess, were not hugely visually demanding, and that's probably going to be pretty consistent since I mostly am still in this retrospective mode where I go back and look at old games. Resident Evil 4 lagged like crazy, but see, it doesn't make any sense for me to think that all games are lagging because all the LEGO engine games that are built on the same LEGO engine and all the Resident Evil engine games that are built on the same engine lag. That just tells me that the engine has problems. And Resident Evil 4 did not lag anywhere as bad as LEGO. It just lagged enough to make a miserable experience. But has there been any game I've played? This is both a blessing and a curse I have, that I can both play a lot of games and then forget I've played a lot of games. Because I know I have. I know I've played a ton of games. And I just can't remember any of them. It would be the games at my, I believe, 7 o'clock time slot. They would be the AAA games that would push my graphics card the hardest. I did Tomb Raider. Yes, Tomb Raider never lagged. Or if it did lag, it lagged in like one place where I'm getting to the point where I will excuse one lag in one little place. But yeah, Tomb Raider had a nice, decent frame rate because it had its own internal system and all that even checked the frame rate. I remember because I was specifically trying to overclock my video card at the time. And see, that's another part of my line of thinking, as I'm desperately trying to blame myself for something that's not my fault, which is probably a personality flaw, but not a terrible one to have. But I'm thinking maybe I was overclocking my video card before, and now I'm underclocking it or keeping it at normal. I think it is set at normal. I didn't want to... the problem with overclocking my video card was it was making it very noisy. And then the noisy was then getting directly recorded into the videos, and so what's the point of directly trading video quality for audio quality? Plus, it wasn't really doing anything very helpful. But see, this doesn't feel like anything that... Like, the character literally just jumped. Like, why would a character jumping cause the game, the GPU or the CPU to lock up? It's ridiculous. There's literally no excuse for it. I mean, I imagine if we were doing some kind of Michael Bay-esque explosion jump with solar flares and a ton of rendering, then the GPU might have a problem. But as it's supposed to work, the GPU is supposed to never lock up the system. It would have to be the CPU. And then that makes no sense at all, because like my CPU has is one of the highest CPUs you can get. It's really overpowered. If I am gonna start blaming things, I might as well blame the fact that I leave Chrome open in the background, which does waste some processing power, but I mean, none of these are valid arguments. Nowhere close to being valid arguments. So I need 2 more collectibles and then the red parcel. Just come down here and then get stuck immediately on that box. Why is that box there? That's a good question. Why did the game decide that there needed to be something in the way? Usually when somebody puts a box down, there's a reason. The only reason I could think is that some kind of crash occurs if somebody's standing in that exact spot, but that also makes no sense. This game is weird in its choices. Feels kind of like an unknowledgeable team was working on it. In just some things. It seems like it was a low budget, easy, low effort creation. Okay, so do we pick up this and we throw it at this? Here's something you don't ever see again because it's a little difficult to figure out what it means. That there's a rope holding up weights that's holding up both parts of the so is this gonna open a doorway to a new section, or is it just gonna open like... Okay, So this spins when we hold on to it. Good to know. Well, so I could either do this the difficult way, or I could do this the real easy way. I did it the difficult way. The real easy way would have been to just pick it up and drop down and walk around. Let's see, can we as a female even get up that high? You can make a pretty decent jump. Look at the stars in the skybox. And another example of just not very good textures. Maybe for the time they were good textures though, so it's not a real worthwhile criticism to make considering this is a pretty old game. So I tried to play the original Hitman, and it had a similar issue to this. It ran perfectly fine. In fact, actually, it ran the opposite. It was running too fast. So you'd press forward, and you couldn't turn the sensitivity down anyways. So it was tied to the CPU processor's speed of very old CPUs. So you would move really, really fast. You were in the hyper mode, and the game was just ruined there. Also, it looked incredibly bad. It was the original game that coined my category of unplayable games on Steam. That was the first one I ever looked at and said, look, this thing is just not acceptable. I could never cover it. Not unless there's some kind of mod or something that fixes how it runs. I would be okay with it looking old. I've definitely played some old games, particularly when you start talking about like the point and click adventure games that are old. There's less of an issue there because it's a 2D hand-drawn animation style that you would see in like a lot of Kickstarter, no, not Kickstarter, but what's that word? Greenlight games, things that are made by one person and who aren't that great as far as artists. So that's treasure times 4. It'll be interesting to see how much that is worth. But when you're talking like the original Tomb Raider and the original Hitman, where graphics on the PlayStation 1 era, 3D was coming into itself, but it still wasn't quite good enough. It looks really, really bad. So with any number of luck, oh man, we missed one. How did we miss one? Wow. Well, that's embarrassing. That is really, really embarrassing. I guess I got to talking and wasn't paying attention. So the question is, can I find 70,000 studs in Barnet College? If I could, then there might be something we could do. Like, first level for Temple of Doom, and we already missed it. It's not a terrible problem that we missed one, though. Let's go ahead and turn off disguises. Let's see, disguises off. Because now if I get score times 2 and score times 4 and the artifact detector, in theory at least, that would turn into a much larger payout when I find those last remaining artifacts, gold chests. See, unfortunately, there's nowhere near enough studs here to get 70,000. I suspect if I ran all around here, I'm barely gonna even get 20,000 studs. There's just nothing to break. You come up here and you start punching these, and they're giving you little gold 100 studs, and that's about it. The good news, I suppose, is next level we will almost definitely get the amount we want to 1,000,000 to get score times 2. And once we have score times 2, we then need probably 2,000,000 to get score times 4, which should be sped up by the process of collecting studs. And collecting a lot of studs when we get all of the gold chests completed. But yeah, unfortunately there's just not enough things here, and they're not dropping enough studs. I would think in the late stages of testing this game, I would definitely suggest like all of these things around here need to drop a lot of studs, or scale up after you've played all of the game in story mode. So score treasure times 2, which gets changed to score times 2 later. I think it was score times 2 in the Star Wars series too. Anyways, it's 1,000,000. The artifact detector is 250,000, and score times 4 is 2,000,000. So we are really behind the curve as it is, and I may very well end up having to grind quite a bit. I may have to run through levels, find a level that has a lot of things in it, and Shanghai Showdown might be a good place to try something like that too, because that first area is moderately more full of items. But yeah, this is going to be some more work. We are at 62.9% now. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.